today is joining us from Ramallah, Mr. Ashraf Aouke, a political analyst, and from Paris by Professor Majid Bouden, an international law professor. Welcome, gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining me here today at Think Tank. Let me start off with Mr. Ashraf. The Israeli far-right ministers, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, harshly criticized Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for concessions made to advance Trump's peace plan. Does total victory, as demanded by the right, truly still remain the non-negotiable condition for Netanyahu's political survival, do you think?
Yes, I think so. There is no total victory that Israel can reach or has reached so far in this war. Israel is pressured and they have a forced path following the plan, because this plan isn't just Donald Trump's plan, but it is the regional and the mediators want to reach this point, reaching a ceasefire, stopping the genocide and the starvation, and then move on to the next day plans for the Gaza Strip. And but what is more important is that these internal Israeli statements, these contradiction what Smotrich and Ben-Gvir are saying, and then what Netanyahu said. And Netanyahu is provoking people in his statements. He is trying to show victory and to manipulate and get behind that proposal to promote himself. There are elections in Israel. The Smotrich or Ben-Gvir's or Netanyahu's, what they're willing to do isn't that important. But we need to trust the mediators and the regional countries to implement the plan to have a release of detainees and then full withdrawal of Israeli occupation forces, and then having the new government. And so I think that the government cannot accept these being provoked by Netanyahu. His latest statement, he said that he doesn't accept a government or Hamas, the legitimate government that represents the Palestinians and their rights. And so this Israeli option shows that they have a hidden agenda to release the detainees and then not stick to the rest of the proposal. And so I think that the West Bank.
Professor Majid, National Security Minister Ben-Gvir threatens to quit the government if Hamas continues to exist under Trump's peace plan. How realistic do you think this threat is? And what would be the immediate political consequences for Netanyahu if Ben-Gvir and Smotrich both follow through with those threats?
We have to distinguish here between the fundamental points of the Trump peace plan and the tactics of one side or the other side. Here we are talking about the Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, Smotrich differences. And when we see the plan, the Trump plan has been agreed by, first of all, the American administration, and then it was elaborated by the American administration with an agreement with the European countries, the Palestinians, Arab countries, and other countries. So this is today a fact, and this is on the move. The other side, we have this apparently dispute between Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, and Smotrich. But this is just testing. It's only tactics to make the less concession possible on the modus operandi, on the way how to deal with the agreement.
Yes.
We are not talking about the agreement in itself. We are talking about how to deal with its ways and how to do the modalities. Mm-hmm. The matter will not go far. We have seen Ben-Gvir and Smotrich threatening Netanyahu on several occasions that they will withdraw from the government. Once they will have withdrawn, they have come back. And this is a comedy. What is important is that this plan is taking place now. Mm-hmm. There are serious talks start tomorrow. Delegations are arriving in Sharm el-Sheikh, and they will start negotiations. Yeah. So we have to, and the world must make successful at least the first step of these negotiations, at least one, to have a ceasefire, to stop the killings, and second, to open the borders to allow the
humanitarian
aids to come into the Gaza Strip. Yes. These are the most important things, then the others will follow.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Ashraf, how is Netanyahu attempting, do you think, to balance the conflicting demands of his hardline coalition allies with the push to secure a detainee exchange deal? How is he working with those two conflicting ideas?
It is very clear that Netanyahu up till now is following and getting along with these internal thoughts with Smotrich and Ben Gvir, and is trying to tell them that we are refusing the return of government and we will stay in the Gaza Strip for a long time. He's talking about military presence, and some Israeli leaks are starting to say that Israel will keep its military presence in the borders and in El Shujaiya. In addition to that, the Philadelphia corridor, and so these Israeli affirmations disarming Hamas and eradicating them either through Trump's plan or the military operations. And so these statements and speeches and this environment is keeping the offensives up till now. He hasn't implemented what Trump asked him to do with an urgent halt to the military operations. We have today more than 70 martyrs. He is basically trying to hinder the proposal, and he is getting along with these far-right leaders that are creating a negative environment, raising the tensions, and even having tensions with the mediators that will arrive tomorrow to Cairo and Sharm el-Sheikh. And we have a contradictory environment domestically in Israel with how they see the war and what the next steps will be. And everyone knows that this war kept on going because of Netanyahu and these far-right leaders that think that this proposal actually crushes their dreams of having settlements and taking control of the Gaza Strip and annexing the West Bank and forcing the Palestinians out. And so they will try to hinder this proposal. But in my opinion, I think that we need to focus on pressuring Israel to comply to this proposal. Apart from these statements, all the Arab countries and the Europeans, the Americans that welcome Trump's speech, that for Netanyahu to shut up, who keeps on saying such things and with having and escalating the tensions, this will be an obstacle to this proposal. And so the whole region and the Palestinians welcomed Hamas's acceptance to Trump's proposal. And so everyone will engage in Trump's plan to reach a lasting peace and safety, to reach a two-state solution and having stability in the Middle East. When Trump says that we
Professor
want
Majid, let me move on to you again. Given their support for Trump's plan, what do you think is the role that the opposition leaders like Benny Gantz and Yair Lapid playing to ensure the deal can move forward, even with internal opposition from Netanyahu's government?
Well, first of all, the plan now, the peace plan, is addressed to Israel as a state, and whatever its government is formed with. So whether it is Netanyahu or tomorrow another prime minister, it will be binding on Israel, and it is committing Israel. Now there is Netanyahu in the government, and he had this extreme right coalition surrounding him. And now Israel cannot withdraw from this plan. And this plan, on the two things which are linked. which are linked practically in factual ways.
Which are?
These are, the first one is the ceasefire. And ceasefire is linked with freeing the hostages. Nobody in Israel can dare to postpone or to prevent the freeing of the hostages, whatever Netanyahu or another party in his coalition or in the political arena. So this will go. This will be materialized, and this cannot be materialized without, under these circumstances, without the ceasefire, because nobody can do the freeing the hostages and the bombs. So, and this is a practical matter. This will happen. And this is a good thing for the Palestinian civil population, because this will allow the food and relief and medication and water to be supplied, and the borders will be opened. First step. So if nobody can think that Ben Gvir or Smotrich or somebody else in the coalition will make obstacles in this situation. So there is no worry about that this happen. The matter is after this first step, what will happen the day after this step, and then the opposition will play a role. And for the American interests, they don't have to take into consideration who is in the government. They are dealing with Israel, whether there is Netanyahu or
somebody else,
or Lapid or somebody else. So this is the second step. Now they want to make successful this step. By making successful this step, it doesn't give any guarantee to Netanyahu to be maintained in power. This is in politics. In politics, when a step is over, the second step opened will have other characteristics, and it needs maybe different persons to feasible.
Okay, Mr. Ashraf, polls consistently show strong public support for a deal to bring the detainees home. How do you think this overwhelming public sentiment can affect the leverage of the hardline ministers who seem willing to risk the government's collapse over the terms of the deal?
In my opinion, I think that the surveys have an effect, and in Israel they showed in the past period that they are able to move the Israeli public opinion and the people on the streets, and showing that Netanyahu's government and the coalition, especially Ben Gvir and Smotrich, that were out in more than one event. They are trying to escape from the Israeli people, and also the surveys show that that especially Smotrich cannot get a place in the churches, and so this needs to keep on going, in my opinion, especially now. And the Israeli community cannot take a step back from pressuring the government, because they can get their detainees and the part of the disease. But what is more important is that they are trying to reach a peace plan and call for a ceasefire and protect their neighbors. This is the most important question now. Yes, these demonstrations are very important, and they showed the Israeli public opinion and showed that Netanyahu's how he acted was for his benefit and for the coalition's benefit, and he didn't care all the past period. For 2 whole years he didn't care about the detainees. This is a reality now, and it is very clear to the public opinion, and so the public opinion cannot keep Netanyahu in his position even after getting the detainees back, so that Israel can comply to all the points of the proposal. And even like the US President Donald Trump said in his statement, he talked about the right of self-determination to the Palestinian people, about some real negotiations between Israel and Palestine. And so lasting peace and full-on peace is the foundation, so that the Israeli community cannot be a hostage to just the point of releasing the detainees, but they need to try to better the relation with the Palestinians and to push Netanyahu to comply with the proposal points. And so the demonstrations have to keep on going until the war is ended.
Professor Majid, still on the same topic of the detainee exchange, last night protests in Tel Aviv were described as one of the largest in months. How significantly does this surge in public pressure, fueled by the feeling of being this close to a deal, maybe increase the leverage of the detainee families' movement on Prime Minister Netanyahu?
First of all, if we take the matter in its legal side, which is the most important, under law, taking civil population as hostages is not acceptable under international law, and they must be freed without conditions, and not in a bargain, and not as a bargain chip. And as well as at the same time, killing civil population is not acceptable under international law, and this is not also it's also a breach of international law and a war crime and a genocide. Having said that, now this matter is on its way, and it's a right for these families to obtain the release of their children and family members. Now this will happen, whatever is the position of Hamas or of Netanyahu, because the international community now is backing this movement. It will happen. This will also open at the same time the borders to relieve this population. And this will be a ceasefire. The crucial point here is the matter of the ceasefire. The ceasefire is to be qualified as a permanent ceasefire and not only a ceasefire, to pull the carpet under the feet of anybody who wanted to jeopardize this movement. Because Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, Smotrich, and all these kind of far right people, they could resume the attacks the day after the freeing of the population, and it's unacceptable that it will be a bargaining that the freeing the civil hostages or the detainees as a bargain. This must be executed in bad faith by saying we have to protect the civil population, the Israeli civil population, as well as the Palestinian population. And one of the fundamental rules is to give a guarantee to the Palestinian population to not be targeted in the future. This must be one of the points, of the crucial points of the discussions, and then we move on to the other matters. It's how we are going to deal with the day after, how we will settle the situation as it is, and then we will see there is no hostages, there is no Palestinian prisoners, and there is a feeding of the population. We will move on to how to about the governance of Gaza, and to keep the link with the West Bank and with East Jerusalem.
And Mr. Ashraf, do you think the fate of Netanyahu's political career is now solely tied to the outcome of the war in Gaza?
Yes, essentially, I think that if, from my point of view, politically Netanyahu is ended, and this needs some a party plan in Israel today. Netanyahu has harmed Israel's strategic benefits and relationships. Israel is now isolated, and after that, they cannot reach peace with Palestinians, with the Arab. Um, with Netanyahu still in leadership. He is a war criminal now, and he's wanted in the International Court of Justice, and so he's now depending on the far right leaders, those who are leading Israel, and brought doom upon it. And they say that the 7th of October was a Palestinian surprise. Now, actually, it was because, or as a result of an Israeli strike on Al-Aqsa Mosque and the settlements, the annexation, killing the Palestinians everywhere. And so, in my opinion, I think that politically Netanyahu is ended, yes, and this needs elections in Israel so that the Arab countries and the countries in region to have peace with Israel, or try to to reach some kind of peace and have the rights of the Palestinians brought back to them through a two-state solution. And yeah, Netanyahu and his allies will always be an obstacle, and so the far-right leaders cannot come back to Israel. They need to leave once and for all, and they cannot try to cover up for Netanyahu, and Netanyahu needs to be pressured and have elections as soon as possible, maybe in the upcoming month, or maybe in March, for example. And so yeah, we need someone to push for peace, but Netanyahu didn't reach his war objectives, but he actually brought doom upon the region, upon Israel and upon Gaza because of his policies. And Netanyahu now isn't like he's talking about greater Israel and about further operations. He's talking that he will change the Middle East. What Middle East is he talking about, and what Middle East will actually have a relationship with him? And so if Netanyahu don't agree, and if they both turn on the region, I don't think that the USA will have any presence in the region, or of course an Israeli presence in the region. And so this is what we can say because of the forces in our region, because this is how they should act with anyone who's trying to have strikes on countries like Syria, Lebanon, trying to dismantle Syria. This will push the region to an outbreak, and so he needs to leave leadership through elections or any democratic way. And so if Israel wants peace, they need to change this whole government. And so I think this is what the Arab countries are calling for. They told them, if the USA, that they need to get rid of the far right leaders if they want peace.
And that was Mr. Ashraf Aouke from Ramallah, a political analyst, and Professor Majid Boudin, an international law professor. Thank you so much, gentlemen, both for your insights and for joining me here today.